I'm really excited that I finally get to share this with you guys, but for the past year or so, I've been working with my sponsor Wabi Cycles on a really new and exciting project, and they are trying to completely rethink and revolutionize the bike. And this bike has been built from the ground up with cycling innovations that are actually useful and actually make biking better, unlike most cycling innovations. So this is the bike, and just looking at it, you can see it looks very different from a modern bike in pretty much every way. And that's on purpose because it was purpose built to make the riding experience better. While most modern bikes are made out of carbon fiber or aluminum or even titanium, this is a steel bike. And you may be thinking that steel, isn't that like what bridges are made of? That seems kind of silly. Isn't that like overbuilt for a bike? But I found in the past year of riding this bike, steel is actually a really nice material to make a bike out of because you just don't have to worry about it. You can throw this thing in the back of cars, you can crash it, you could ride it off-road really hard, and this thing is literally built to last a lifetime. And I know like the modern way to do it is that people want to upgrade their bikes every like 2 to 5 years or so, but this thing, ever since I started riding this thing, I have had absolutely no desire to upgrade my bike. The way the steel rides, it kind of flexes in a way. It's really different from anything that I've ever experienced, but it absorbs a lot of the road vibrations and makes it really comfortable to ride on-road, off-road, or over long distances. It's really quite clever. Although I'm riding the prototype bike as a brakeless fixed gears, they did think about the single-speed riders out there because it has cable guides, externally routed, and most bikes these days have internally routed cable guides, which makes them super annoying to work on, but they really thought of the user in mind with these because it's super easy to just run your cables through the top. You don't have to go like fishing around for Megalodon and trying to get your cable through the top tube because it just goes straight through and then down. It's genius. And another thing that really revolutionizes the way that we ride bikes with Wabi's new prototype is that they came up with a new standard for the handlebars and the steer tube and stem. So all of these things are available to any manufacturer to use. Like, as you can see, this stem is by Nitto, these handlebars are by Crust, and they all work flawlessly together. They're calling this the 1 1/8 inch head tube, and although they invented it, they are just completely letting anybody use this standard for free, so you could have theoretically in the future, once manufacturers start to catch on to this trend, is that you can choose a wide variety of stem and handlebar combinations that simply just work. And that really opens up the floodgates to the style of riding that you want to do so that the bike can really serve you as the rider and do the riding that you want to do just with this very ingeniously simple design. I can't wait for the future of this technology and to see what manufacturers can really do with this once they can start talking to each other and innovating with each other. And the same can be said for the seat post. Wabi is calling this the 27.2 seat post. Same thing here, where any manufacturer will be allowed to make and use the standard. They're not licensing it or anything. They're just trying to really get this technology off the ground and popularize it. And it'll allow us as customers, which is like kind of mind-blowing that a bike company is looking out for us as customers so that we have more choices and that we can save money. Like, this is capitalism at its finest right here. And the same thing with the seat post. 27.2, they hope that this catches on, and I really think it will because it's just something that can be adopted across the board no matter what kind of bike you're riding, and it's really exciting to see where this is going to go in the future. And it's super simple to use. I haven't had any issues with it, and it's just really sick. Wabi also completely redesigned the modern bike fork. Again, most bike forks these days will be made out of carbon fiber, and there's a lot of limitations with carbon fiber, like it doesn't like to be stressed in certain ways that it wasn't designed to handle the stress. But because Wabi had the revolutionary idea to use a steel fork on a steel bike, they were able to do something really incredible that completely reinvents what a bike fork can do. Because usually you think of a fork like it steers the bike, it holds the wheel. But Wabi added some more functionality to the fork. As you can see down here, it's got these little mounts. And what do these mounts do? Well, this mount right here is genius. It is for a rack. And the rack holds stuff. And the stuff makes riding better because you can carry stuff. It's almost like having a car. Like when you have a car, you have a trunk. Well, on a bike, you have a rack. It's really quite genius because now we can use the bike to do things, and rather than carrying things, I bought a box from the UPS store. Rather than carrying things on a backpack or a messenger bag, which can be really uncomfortable, especially once things start getting heavier, now we can keep all of the weight and all of the bulk on our bikes. And I even just threw my fanny pack in here because it's so much more comfortable. It's genius. And if you want to follow this little mount right here, it goes to what Wabi has called fenders. I wanted to call them bike shields, but Wabi insisted on the term fender because they're really big fans of Fender guitars. And they wanted to name it after Fender guitars because this is actually just as revolutionary as Fender guitars. Like, Fender made rock music popular and possible with the solid body electric guitar, and now Wabi is making biking in the rain possible with what they're calling fenders. And now, fenders, bike shields, whatever you want to call them, the whole point is that it stops the water from spraying onto your back. It's such a simple idea. Look, when I was back in college, we had a term for the stripe of dirt that would get on people's backs from the spray from the wheel. We called it the freshman stripe because anybody that went to San Diego State University knew that it's way better to ride a skateboard to class rather than a bike because of the freshman stripe. And this completely eliminates the freshman stripe and allows us to bike in the rain without getting dirty. And what I found in my experience, I actually just got back from a ride today, and it's, pretty rainy right now, on and off, but like the road is wet. It's just not good conditions to ride a bike in. And I was perfectly comfortable with the bike shields, fenders. And it's just such a simple idea because it's been made possible with their complete redesign of the modern bicycle. And it's so freaking useful. I don't know if I could live without these anymore. But the innovations on this bike don't just stop with the frame set though, because the modern standard is to have tubeless tires, and then you put sealant in it, and then it's a whole process. It's kind of a pain to set up. It can get really messy. You have to top it off every now and then. And Wabi just decided to completely bypass that, and instead of having tubeless sealant in the tire, they invented this thing. This is called an inner tube. And they actually borrowed this technology from river rafting. They realized that a tube for river rafting could be perfectly adapted to the bicycle because all it needs to do is hold air. And the really slick thing about the inner tube is that you don't have to deal with leaking sealant at all. You don't have to maintain it. You don't have to top it up. All you have to do is pump air inside this little rubber thing, and it holds the air inside the tire. And Wabi also collaborated with this new company called Brooks. They are completely reinventing the modern bicycle saddle to just, in my opinion, strictly make it better. Because right now the metagame is that to ride your bike, most people will put on some bib shorts which have like a squishy liner in it to prevent their saddle from hammering their ass to smithereens. But Brooks and Wabi, they took it the other direction, And instead of making more comfortable pants to bike in, they made a more comfortable saddle. It's such a simple idea, but it really works in practice. So the thing with the leather saddle is that your ass will hammer the saddle into the shape of your ass. So essentially, after a few miles of riding this thing, you will have a custom-made saddle for your butt because your dimples will be imprinted into the leather. They're calling it saddle memory retention. It's an amazing new technology, and basically what it means in my experience is that I can ride my bike in whatever pants I want. It doesn't matter what the pants are. It will be comfortable to ride for my ass because the saddle is comfortable. And this new innovation really makes me realize that the way that modern things are being done are back-assward. And just like a couple other clever things that Wabi has done. So normally we have to ride with our clipless pedals and our clipless shoes. And that becomes a problem because sometimes you don't want to wear your clipless shoes. Sometimes you need to be able to walk, or sometimes you need to be able to just want to wear your waterproof shoes or whatever. Or sometimes you just want to wear your favorite shoes, but you want to ride your bike. And this solves the problem because you can ride. Look at that. They just completely eliminated the clipless mechanism. Instead, have the strap that goes over the top of your foot so you can have a similar amount of power transfer. So it's way more convenient because you can use any shoe. Let me show you. Here's a flip-flop. This is the wrong side, but it works for demonstration purposes. You could ride this with flip-flops. What other modern bike can you ride in flip-flops? This is amazing. And this last one is just kind of more of a bonus one, but it just makes the riding experience and being part of your community a lot more pleasant, because normally when we're trying to pass somebody on the road or out on the trail, we say, "Passing! Passing! Yo, passing!" Now, we don't have to do that. We could be really nice to our neighbors with what Wabi is calling the dinger. So this has to catch on first, and people need to know what means. But once the dingers catch on, then people hearing that sound will know that they need to get out of the way because somebody on a bike is trying to pass them. I think this just, is a small way to make the world a better place rather than screaming at people in our community. And it's so much more polite. This Wabi prototype bike, it really changed the game for biking for me. Like, I'm just having so much more fun on this bike than any other modern bike that I've ridden, just because everything about it keeps the rider in mind and not just the rider's wallet in mind. And if you're interested in checking out this April Fool's joke, be sure to check out Wabi Cycles, linked in the description.